Welcome to the latest edition of the 941 Sports Zone, episode number 31. I am Spitz. He is John Bittersweet 16 Masoni as his Gators took it on the chin.
Yes.
Still 0 for Tampa, which is rather amazing. The Gators have never gotten out of Tampa in 3 tries in the first round, and it happened again on Sunday night, John.
It was a tough one to watch as a Gator fan because it was all the things. If you watching the team all year, there were definite flaws in this team, and some of it is, I thought they could maybe get around some of the situation, but I think they were a bit exposed in the Vanderbilt game in the SEC tournament. Guard play, or better yet, just perimeter play, is a nemesis to this team because they don't have good perimeter players. It's great that Hoke can come out and hit threes, and he's an anomaly, but consistency wise, there's just not the go-to guy. I saw something this morning and especially said, but what this team lacked was Walter Clayton Jr. to come out and put his cape on and hit a shot when you needed it. But I will say this, the loss yesterday was an entire team loss, from the coach to the players, right down the line. It just seemed as though that there were, I will say this, and I don't want to, I'm guessing, obviously. There was a sense of, oh, it's Iowa. We got it. It's just a little bit. It's just a little bit harder than Prairie View A&M. We'll run up and down the court. They'll wear out. We'll be dunking and doing everything else and we'll get up by 15, 16, 18, and they'll have no chance. And it just didn't work out that way because execution wasn't there, and the game plan wasn't one that lent itself to be getting yourself the Coach of the Year award. I'll just say. But I don't blame him all the way.
Yeah. No, there's a bunch of blame to go around. The 941 Sports Zone brought to you, as always, by Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida, locally owned, nationally backed, delivering exceptional roofing for homes and businesses up and down the Gulf Coast. 941-251-4257 is the number. 941-251-4257. And March Madness is where we'll begin. We kind of already started talking about it a little bit. Gators fell behind by 14 early in the second half, came all the way back, actually got a 4-point lead in the final 4 minutes of the game, had a 3-point lead with about 2 minutes to go, and you never felt comfortable if you were a Florida fan. Iowa just hung around and was just that pesky team. They got it, to within 2. With the 8.9 seconds, the timeout was taken, which I thought was really interesting. Was taken by Florida.
Right, now, set the defense up. I think that's what they.
That's what they wanted to do, and in the end, Iowa saved them by taking a timeout after they hit the 3. But let's start with that defensive call, John. 8.9 to go. You're up 2, and Coach Golden after the game basically let the cat out of the bag. That, the idea was to keep the ball out of the point guard's hands, let somebody else catch it, and he was going to foul him right away.
Right.
Which I guess is the analytics way of looking at things.
Right, but here's the thing I'll say to you. Let's get the lead up to this whole thing. Poor first half, overconfidence, like I said. Yeah. That was just right there in front of you. Air balls, missed dunks. That drives me frigging crazy.
Right.
Just go up and Alex Condon, thought he was going to be a first-round draft pick last year. He's a college basketball player at best. He can go play in Australia and go back and play whatever league they have there, and that's what he's going to be good at. He is an inconsistent player. He is a turnover machine. And granted, he put some numbers up in the second half, but he was a big contributor to the reason why they were down 14, or they did have a bad set. Pass in his hands and he goes up and the ball flies out of his hands. I don't know what's going on. It doesn't make any sense how he does stuff. Boogie Fland is not an NBA guy. He's He's a average point guard. Average point guard. If you had to depend on him to make a shot, there's not even close. He's a terrible shooter, just terrible. Lee, overrated. No problem. Again, I can go down the line about the players. But again, but you've been winning with these guys. But you've been winning because it didn't come down to them to do anything. Right. It was more or less like, hey, you know what? We can spread the floor. We can go with down low. And I thought the biggest problem, not so much even the last call on defense, but why you didn't establish Chinyelu in the post early in the game. 0 points, 1 rebound, and 4 fouls. Come on, really? That's terrible. So you had nothing down low because Condon couldn't keep the ball in his hands. You're not giving it to Chinyelu. And what are you doing? You're jacking up threes, air balls, that kind of things that just make any sense. And they had scored 13 points with 7 minutes left in the first half. You're already at that point where you're trying to, you're chasing your tail. Then you come out and they let Iowa get a 14-point lead on you, and then you make this mad rush back. With all that bad play, you get back to where you're up. Missed free throws, no problem. Okay, all things that win you games in this type of situation, they didn't do any of them. So when that ball came in with 8.9 seconds left on the clock, I right as soon as I saw what was going on, I'm like, they're going to go right down the court. And I thought if they're going to go right, if you're going to pressure like you said, Rich, and you said about fouling. What I would have done is I would have let the guy keep going. I wouldn't have tried to stop him so he could kick it for the 3. The 3 is what beats you. You can go take the tie. Okay. And I guess
that was Coach Golden's thought process. Yeah, you know what? We foul them. They hit the 2 free throws. We have 6 seconds left to either win the game or send it to overtime. But instead, the defenders in the trailing position, the ball's inbounded. If you don't want that guy to get the ball, you got to double or triple team him.
Right.
I mean, if that's the plan, and again, I have no reason to think that Golden was lying in the press conference. If that's the plan, then he can't touch the ball. You absolutely make sure he can't touch the ball. Right. And instead he gets the ball on the dead run, and the guy's standing in the corner. He was standing in the corner from when the timeout was over.
And Fland is the guy guarding him, right? And he's running down court with him side. What are you shielding him off from? If just try to steal the ball and foul him. If that's what I'm saying. The coach can do a lot of things that we can say that's a bad idea. But if that's the call, then execute the call.
Yeah,
execute the call. So you kick it out. And Condon, when I first saw him hesitate to go up for the block, I kind of understood because he goes up and tries to block it and he misses, hits somebody on the elbow. They're going to get 3 free throws.
Right.
So I get why he didn't, why he did that. But then Rich coming out with 3.9 seconds left, right? Mm-hmm. And he handed it to Lee. Where in the world would anybody have said, go under the basket and with everybody clogged up underneath there? At the very least, he's going 100 miles an hour. Pull up. You're supposed to be a medium range jump shot. He had plenty of time to get a shot off. He goes inside under the basket and tries to feed it. And I'm reading somewhere where Hope didn't handle the pass. He couldn't have no time to put it in the basket. He'd have to get it barely out of his hand. It was dumb. That kid didn't. That's the guy you're going to put the ball in his hands. I would have put Hoke with the ball. Honestly, I would have given him. He can come up court. Let him pull a little pull-up jump. Let him drive to the basket. He's not going to get intimidated by a 6'3" center like they had out there. He'd get up there and he can make a shot. So again, execution. Here's the play. Execute. They did not execute all night long. They did not execute anything properly. And Golden, I get it. Maybe a lot of guys heard Charles Barkley this morning and everything else I had last night. Never would I have pressed. That's an easy 3 setup for them. If you want to do anything, get them at half court, cause them to do whatever, and if you get whatever, then you foul. Then whatever it may be, much different. You just don't do it the way they laid it out. But with that being the case, why would you run 50 feet with the guy and not foul him? I don't understand what you were thinking. If that's what the coach told you to do, why didn't you do it?
Yeah.
But again, that leads to why they're maybe not the backcourt of the past.
No question about it. Yeah, Walter Clayton not coming through those doors. I mean, he was the National Player of the Year for a reason last year.
Yeah.
And his reason he took you to a natty. So the Gators are out. They're the only one seed that lost, although Duke certainly got a scare in the first game against Siena, down double digits at the half. And basically, if Siena had any bench, Duke loses that game because basically Siena wore down in the second half. I mean, everybody played 38 minutes.
Right. I was at the airport that day watching the game with in airport, strangers make friends sitting there waiting for their plane to arrive. Right. I'm watching the game. And I said, see that? Because he was a guy who knew some basketball. I said, see the Siena coach? He said, you know who he is? He said, who? I said, he's the next Syracuse coach. Yeah. And it happened today, or it happened already.
It did.
So,
yeah.
Jerry McNamara, I mean, he really, that team was well coached. I thought they were a reflection of him in some way. And I thought that was pretty interesting there, right there. You're right. I think that Duke is in trouble.
Yeah. Oh, no question. They played one good half,
right?
Out of the first four, and are fortunate. But that's how when you get a one seed, that sometimes you can ham and egg it, as they say,
right?
To the next round. But the water's going to get a lot deeper, and we'll talk about that coming up in just a few minutes. But Duke gets through. Michigan and Arizona, no problems. They both look like they could be on a collision course for Indianapolis. I mean, somebody's got to try to slow one or both of them down, and I'm not sure there's anybody in the tournament that can before the Final Four.
Rich, I'll say this to you, and it's going to sound like a strange thing to say, but Michigan's got to pick 8 guys to be their team. Like they're trotting 10 guys out there. It's like you don't know what formula is. That's like I think when you play. I watched Duke and Michigan, obviously in the regular season, right?
Right.
And Duke's, no matter what it was, Duke had a better 5 guys on the court all the time than Michigan, because Michigan was trotting out this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy. And I get it. You got depth. I get it that's it's a wearing out process, but you're not going to wear out a team of that magnitude. Okay. You're just not. You might run somebody else in the ground, but you're not going to run them in the ground. I think stylistically, I think it's a problem. I could be 100% wrong. I may be 1,000% wrong, but I think that Michigan's got to pick their poison.
And I think they will as we get deeper in the tournament. I mean, they were basically toying with their teams they were playing.
Right.
So,
right.
Maybe he's doing that.
A lot of that too.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Dusty May, listen, Dusty May had to close things down for Florida Atlantic and got them to the Final Four. So I have the utmost confidence that he'll figure it out. But there's tons of talent on that team between Michigan and Arizona. St. John's, it's unbelievable. They got up and looked like they were cruising, and then all of a sudden Kansas decided that they're going to try to make a game of it. They got it back to all square, and Rick Pitino. I've listened to the stories in the huddle. A guy who hasn't scored a point, they're like, get him the ball. Get him the ball. He'll get to the rack. And listen, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. He got to the rack and he scored right as time expired. He's the fastest guy on the court. Only 2 points of the game. And St. John survives. And there could be Duke's problem in the Sweet 16, because if St. John's plays like they played in the first 30 minutes, Duke is in trouble.
Right. And I think that it's not a coincidence that Rick Pitino's got a team in the Sweet 16, right? I mean, he knows how to motivate. He knows how to get the best out of guys. We know Rick Pitino had a lot of issues personally, and there were some things that over the years that he's had. I mean, some of the stories are just they're not safe for work, so kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But he's a basketball lifer. He can't help himself.
He's a savant.
Unbelievable. Yeah. And he knows how to, when you hear him talk about how he talks to his players, you want to play for the guy. I guess the kid's nickname is Bells or something like that.
Yes, correct.
He said, I heard it today. He's like, we're in the huddle and Bells says to me, let's run the high pick and roll and let's go, what's that guy? And he's like, he goes, and Pitino's like, okay, let's do it. Then I realized he just called the play for himself. He hasn't scored a damn point in the whole game, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm rolling.
Hasn't done a damn thing right. Yeah, exactly.
Right. And he puts it in there. He's like, I couldn't be happier for the kid. He's a great kid. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. He's got that sort of like that locker room guy mentality that seems to resonate with young college players. And he's a winner. And you're right. I will tell you, that matchup, I love it. I'm glad it's the matchup. I like St. John's because the only thing, as I say to you, is there's two Boozer brothers on the court, for Duke. One Boozer brother is a first round he's a lottery pick. One Boozer brother should stay at Duke for 4 years.
And he might.
And because he does not, I mean, you can see the difference between the previous point guard. I can't remember his name, who's got the foot injury. But he ain't him. And he's not that guy. And
Flag.
so, well, yeah. They just don't have, but they just don't have that guard play that they need. He can play for Florida because he can't shoot. He could be fine because that's great because we're not worried about our point guard being able to shoot. But otherwise, I mean, it's hard. I saw Duke have to really work against Siena to score points. It was hard. They worked hard.
71. Think about this, Florida. Well, and I guess Prairie View A&M and Siena, it's hard to, even though they were both 16, Siena was obviously a much better coach team.
Much better, yes.
And that's, like you said, that's why Jerry McNamara is the new coach at Syracuse. We'll talk about that coming up in just a second. It's interesting that Pitino moved on, Calipari's moved on, Tom Izzo's moved on. The common thread there, they're throwback coaches. They're coaches that get in your face. And that's a lot of times that's not today's athlete. But they basically say, listen, you're going to do what I tell you to do, and you're going to do it the way I tell you to do it, or you're going to ride the pine, or you can go play for somebody else. And all three of them have got the mix of kids they need for their style of coaching.
So I'll give you an example to make your point 100% right. Okay, Pitino, he can recruit. He can coach the hell out of those kids. They play physical. They do fundamentals. Pitino, Izzo, and who was your other guy that you
Calipari.
said? Calipari. Okay, they're in there. They know how to do this stuff, right? They get it. But then you have Kentucky. Okay, so in this day and age, everything is about college sports has changed. NIL.
And they've got plenty.
I get that. But the playing field is relatively even, if you want to ask me, at the top level players. Okay. So what is Kentucky? Okay. Kentucky hired Mark Pope, who was a guy who was a player there at Kentucky, put him in place and say, how much money do you want for your players? And they gave him everything that he wanted, right? Or whatever money he spent. And where'd they end up? Crap hole. Yeah. Because it doesn't matter if you pay $21 million or $21 for a team. If you got a guy who can coach them, it doesn't make a difference. Look around the University of Florida football team. Look at Florida State's football team. Look at there's not like maybe not in Florida State's case, but there's not a lack of money. There's not a lack of NIL. Stop worrying about the NIL. We'll get the players. You get players. We'll do what we need to do. We'll talk. Go out there and you coach them. Okay, you go coach them. And in Kentucky's case, they had again a $21 million budget for their players. They were for $21 million. They got $100,000 worth of productivity. It was and one guy who got hot at the end of the year that made them credible. Okay, enough to and they didn't get it. So if Izzo, he'll say, all right, you only got 15 million. I'll get somebody. They'll want to come play for me. Not everybody gets paid big money. We understand that. So they don't do that. They're developing guys still. They're making plays. They're doing they know there's guys that have to be role players. They coach them as well as anybody else, not the $21 million guy. Kansas's problem as well as Kentucky was they had a guy who we know did maybe had just taken his time off during the regular season. We don't know what he did. He definitely takes time off during the games.
Mm-hmm.
And so he turns it up, everything gets turned up. He turns it and how do you count on that guy? I don't think you do. So it's still about character, it's still about coaching, and the NIL is just the new norm. You're getting paid. By the way, they've been getting paid for about 50 years. So let's
I was just going to say,
put blinders on. But that's the excuse, and it's not. You don't have to go around out there and buy everybody up. You just don't. You just go out there and you coach like you normally coach. You get guys you want, athletes you like is a formula, and you go out there and you do it. I think Nick Saban quitting because of the NIL made the NIL poison. He just don't want to deal with it anymore. It's not poison. It's what it is. I can
name coaches in all the major sports. He's not alone. He's not alone. There's several basketball coaches that decide. Jay Wright should be coaching. He doesn't want to deal with the crap. He doesn't want to deal with it. And you know what? He got himself 2 natties. He could sit back and enjoy the good life for the rest of his life. So it is what it is. Now, I'll defend Pope a little bit.
Okay.
Just a little bit. They basically lost every guard they had on the roster. To injury. All right. So but you've got to adapt. And Kentucky it was the 9th seed in the SEC tournament, was the 7th seed in the NCAA tournament. That's not good enough. No. Now he's only had 2 years, so he might get another year. Although there is some talk that they might buy him out. Here's another guy, Hubert Davis, who's now had 5 years at North Carolina. Started off like a house of fire. He's in the national championship game and up double digits in the second half. But that's a little bit of a precursor to what you've seen. They blew that game. They blew the natty. And that's happened again and again. And again, their best player got hurt. Let's be real. But they had a 19-point lead against the team that they were better than. And they let him back in the game. And the game got to overtime and then ended up losing. And it sounds like he's out. It sounds like it's either going to be a mutual parting of the ways or something along those lines. But North Carolina, before they do that, and I think this is where Kentucky screwed up, okay? 2 years ago, everybody was like, Calipari, I think his time is up here. They got upset. Oakland game, they got upset in the first round of the tournament. But they didn't have a plan. And Mark Pope ended up being the parachute, basically. And by the way, I think Calipari can still coach. He can. He's in the Sweet 16, and you're at home.
Right.
You're at home. So, but that's the point I'm making here is that North Carolina, I think, is going to try to find that guy first before they, whatever you want to call it, with Hubert Davis. I think his is more pronounced. They've had many chances, and they've had a lot of early round exits in the last few years. And I think Carolina people are, you got the team up the road that's the number 1 overall seed in the tournament. That's a problem. Big problem.
Right. And you just, that's the Ohio State, Michigan thing. It's everything. It's always the same way that, if they're doing well and you're not, that's what everybody's got. That's the benchmark for what you expect from your team. You're right, and there's a Carolina, and you follow me on this a little bit. They're a blue blood, but they're not. But I don't see them as that team that everybody sort of genuflects to anymore. I mean, I think Duke has clearly made themselves the standard in the ACC, and Carolina is just they're sort of like Clemson and NC State, maybe a little bit of that. There's nothing that I look at Louisville that I say every time a Carolina walks in, it's like, oh God, okay, here comes Carolina. This is going to be. There's 4 number 1 picks on this team. They're getting good players, but it's not Duke. It just isn't. And I think there's and look at how they reacted when they beat Duke. Their fans were punching people and whatever else it would be. Right. But they're not. But even because they're not dominating. they rushed the court because they beat Duke.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's unheard of.
Yeah,
Right.
shouldn't you beat Duke? Why is that a court rushing moment? Why is that a physical violence moment for you? Because you're frustrated? Because you expect more? Maybe you're not. Maybe that's not where your program is right now. It's hard to swallow. Look, Florida football is that way. For us, you have to look at it and say, am I going to rush the field because I beat Mississippi State after on a bad throw? But that's what I'm not saying that's the same thing. Should I rush the field because I beat Florida State because it's a rival? I don't know. I don't think so. But there's something to it where your expectations have sort of dwindled, and you're not sure you're not quite sure as a fan base. You're not quite sure what to do. And the people that are making decisions are saying, "Don't worry about it. We'll just throw $50 million at it and get a new coach, and it'll be just fine." Nope, that ain't how it works. We just talked about it. It's not how it works.
No, it's not. By the way, Duke, the only ACC team standing in the Sweet 16. The Big Ten with 6 teams.
Yeah.
The 5 that were expected, and then of course Iowa beating Florida. The Big 12, I think, has 4 teams left.
Yep.
Or no, the SEC has 4. The Big 12 has 3. And even the Big East has 2 teams. There's where your problem is. The Big East has 2 teams. The ACC has 1. If you're the ACC, shouldn't you be on the phone to, say, South Florida and a couple of other schools and kind of beef things up? I mean, you have that many teams and you have 1 team in the Sweet 16. That's a conference problem, I think. And
listen, it's a conference problem in football too.
Yes.
Okay. So
they couldn't even get their champion. They couldn't even get their champion into a 12-team playoff. Sorry, John. Go ahead.
No, you're 100% right. That's what I was going to go with it. I mean, they're just not. So is it the schools or is it the conference as a whole? Okay, because there's got to be something that's enticing you to come and be part of what we're doing here. Where is the big ACC games and stuff like that? Where you're off on the CW or you're whatever you may be.
Exactly. There's
so you're sort of not, maybe you're not as relevant, so to speak, as maybe you think you are. I don't know. I think there's got to be something to that. I would think. Is the ACC are they losing their coaches or are they just, I don't know, but it looks to me like they have sort of become they've dropped considerably. Big 12 is better than them, as far as I'm concerned.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Big 12 only has 3 teams left, but I could see any of the 3 winning the national championship. I really can.
Right. And in basketball, it's an easier turnaround. But remember, basketball, again, there was maybe, you're talking about 3 teams. Louisville, they're new to the situation. Syracuse is down. They've got pedigree teams out there. They're just not, in the mainstream in some ways, and I think that's a problem.
Yeah. A couple of coaching notes before we get into the Sweet 16 games. Brian Hodgson, and I think we talked about this a little earlier last week.
Yeah.
Spurns Syracuse and ends up taking the Providence job. Syracuse gets Jerry McNamara, and a lot of people at Syracuse, I talked to a couple of alums, and they're kind of mixed on that. A lot of them want to get out of the Boeheim era, out of the shadow.
I heard that. Yeah.
And then Jerry McNamara is a Boeheim guy. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out for Syracuse. Obviously he can coach. I mean, listen, that Siena game, the fact they had Duke beat kind of tells you that he really can coach. But, you talk about the Pope situation, Bill Self, he left the door wide open at his press conference. I think those heart issues are beginning to take a toll on him, and I would not be one bit surprised to see right after the tournament that he steps down and steps out for Kansas, and that would leave a giant hole in the Kansas program. Who, by the way, let me just real quick. I just told you 3 teams can win the national championship. One of them's not Kansas. You got Iowa State, you got Houston, and you got Arizona that have kind of just gone right on by.
Right. You're 100% right. And Bill Self, obviously medical issues, whatever they may be, but also they had some scandals at that school for off and on for a number of years, and he tried to brush it brush it away and make no big deal kind of stuff. But there was some stuff going on there that was shaky. And then even this year, when the kid Peterson was sort of taking time off, wondering if there was something that there could be a tanking scenario for gamblers. So that program is really sort of in need of a, I guess you would say maybe a facelift's not right. Maybe a punch in the mouth might be a better way to say it, because they got to get their act together a little bit. They're still Kansas. They're still got dudes coming in there, but it's just not the same look. And you're right. They're fourth, fifth, sixth right now in the Big 12. And that's not where you expect to see Kansas.
I thought somebody said it best. If it's not a Monday night at Allen Fieldhouse, they're very ordinary. I mean, they were very, very meh on the road. And if it wasn't a Monday night game, they were very, very ordinary at home too. And, just not up to the standards. I wouldn't even begin to think who might take that job. That's, Kansas might be in scramble mode right now. All right, let's look ahead. We've got the Sweet 16 all set. The early games on Thursday and Friday are on CBS. The late games are on TBS, and True TV. And keep in mind, the national semifinals and finals are on TBS this year.
Yes.
Which, again, just kind of blows my mind a little bit. And then they go, well, the ratings are down. Well, it's only cable. I mean, but whatever. All right, so the first game on Thursday, Purdue, the second seed. And congratulations to them. I already had them out on my bracket, which has just been blown to smithereens, against 11-seeded Texas, who comes out of the play-in game and ends up getting to the Sweet 16. Purdue's 6.5-point favorite. At this point, I don't even think Matt Painter can screw this up. I think Purdue wins.
Can I ask you a quick question? This is something that was kind of bothered me a little bit. The point guard at Purdue, Braden Smith, right? That's okay.
Yep, that is.
I don't like his style of play. Okay. Watching him over the years, I just always thought gets under the basket too much, sort of just sort of gets himself out of position, right? But he's now the assist leader in the NCAA career-wise. So my question to you would be this, and my sort of thought in this, me not liking his game a little bit. So he's a fourth-year guy, right? He's played 4 years at Purdue. If he was a really great point guard, would he still be at Purdue? Would he be breaking records? So I think that's the thing about – I'm not saying he's a bad player, right? But I'm sitting there thinking, and they're just lauding him as he's got to be in the pantheon of all these great players. Well, Bobby Hurley had to stay.
Right, college.
Yeah. But I'm like, no, I mean, in this day and age, he's only accumulating numbers because he stayed. The really great point guards, they're in the NBA.
Right.
So I'm not trying to, but it's like, it was frustrating me because I don't like his style of play, what he does. He runs kind of runs. I thought that he was part of the problem why they didn't win when they had the 7-4 guy, Eddie, whatever. Yeah. I'm like, what happened there? Everybody wanted to blame the coach. And I'm like, I don't think the point guard's the guy, that there's something to backcourt play. He's good. Purdue is good. I'm not saying that, but man, I was like, they're talking about this guy as the greatest ever. And the guys he passed up were guys that had to stay the entirety of their career. They didn't have a choice to pull stakes. Just a thought.
Okay. Do you think they beat Texas?
Yes. I think Texas. I think Sean Miller has done a great job as a coach at Texas.
Unbelievable job.
This run right here. And they'll be relevant next year. They'll be a team to watch out in the SEC next year. But I think this is where it hits the whatever hits the fan here. We're done.
The rubber hits the road.
Rubber hits the road.
Yeah. Okay. South region first game, battle of a couple of Big Ten teams, Nebraska and Iowa. Nebraska, got that first win. They destroyed Troy. And then that unbelievable finish where they hit the driving layup, and then the three-pointer goes 3/4 of the way down and comes out. Yeah. I mean, most of the Nebraska kids that they interviewed after the game thought the ball was in, and they were done. Yeah. But they survived. Good on them. And, of course, they're going to take on the Iowa team that just beat Florida and won their first game relatively easy. That's a very, very good matchup, in my opinion. And it shows by the spread. Nebraska, despite being a 4-9 game, is only a 1.5 favorite.
They played poorly, I thought, in the latter third of the season, and
Mhm.
they came out of the gate just like gangbusters, and then so they've sort of and they were kind of iffy in that game the other night. Look, Iowa got a lazy Florida team. I think if you match Nebraska, I think Nebraska and Iowa are a lot alike, in regards to how they
Mhm.
play. They got that Big Ten mentality. It wouldn't surprise me if Iowa beat them, but I don't expect it. I think Nebraska is the better team based on resume than Iowa. I think Nebraska and being at 1.5, I think it's a cover for Nebraska too.
Oh, it's my favorite play of the 8 games in the Sweet 16. I don't think to me that's I think Nebraska wins and wins comfortably. The West region, against the Purdue Texas game is top seed Arizona, 8.5-point favorite against Arkansas, who seems to have found things here both in the SEC tournament and then in the first 2 games. They beat a very good High Point team. High Point's going to be a team that's going to be around, one, because they've got a budget, an NIL budget.
Right.
But John Calipari's done it again, and I chide the folks at Kentucky. He couldn't do anything right there, so he goes to Arkansas and he's got him in the Sweet 16 in his second year. The water might be just a little too deep here, but I expect this game to be close for a while.
High Point wins that game, Rich, if their designated 3-point guy hits 2 more three. I mean, he and listen, I've never seen anybody get a ball out of his hand that fast. It's almost like it touches. It's not even his hand ever. He sees an opening and he's shooting a 3. Love the concept. Like, hey, he had his first 2-point basket in the first round for the winning layup. He's the first time that's first basket he had all year. That was a 2-pointer. Anyway, Calipari, his stud woke up, and he's got that kid. And that kid, look, there's always a situation where one guy can carry you for a bit of a time. So I think, could they win? Yes. Will they win? No, because it's not a one-man show. Arizona just brings out. Talk about guys trotting out guys. Their top 8 guys are just physical and they play well and it's. I don't see it. I don't see it happening.
And next to Florida, I think they have the best front line in college basketball, and that's a problem because I think they'll wear down Arkansas.
Well, that's how Florida beat Arkansas.
Yeah,
that's what they did. They wore them down. And by the way, don't forget, Arizona beat Florida first game of the year.
Yes, they did.
Close game, and that night that front court was a bit better than Florida's front court.
Yeah. And then the final game on Thursday night, Houston plays a home game. They get a home region, and now with Florida out, they're the top seed left. The 2 seed Houston against the 3 seed Illinois, and you would think, Houston, especially at home, spread's only 3.5. Illinois very impressive in their first 2 games, and again, part of that Big Ten brigade. I think Houston's got their hands full here. This is a chance in my mind, a chance for an upset.
I agree, and I don't like Houston. I just don't. I mean, they have, again, they just, to me, I just don't like their style. I thought last year they against Florida. I thought they had a chance, obviously, to win the game. Don't get me wrong, but it's so predicated on just it's very guard oriented. I get that. To me, I'm like, I don't feel like they're a total team. You know what I'm trying to say?
I think they have trouble scoring at times, and I think that's a problem when you get to
they're
teams like this.
They're good. They got games in the 50s. You see it all the time with them, and so I just don't see them being able to gear it up. If Illinois doesn't beat them, gosh, it's either Nebraska or Iowa. I think though they could lose. They could lose any game moving forward. Whoever they're playing against, there's potential for a loss. That's my opinion. It doesn't have to matter who it is. I think they can lose to anybody because of the way they play.
All right, Friday's first game is Duke against St. John's. Duke's a 6.5-point favorite. Again, they only played 1 good half so far. St. John's if again, I think this is another one I think can end up happening as an upset. I had it in my bracket as such. I had Duke going out in this round. They might get their other injured player back. That would be a huge boost for them.
Big time. Yes.
But I still think St. John's is in this game. And again, listen, John Shire has done an unbelievable job replacing Coach K. You and I talked about this last week. You always want to be the guy that follows the guy.
Right.
I mean, not the guy that follows the guy. You want to be the guy that follows the guy that follows the guy.
Right,
and he's been the guy that's followed the guy, and they haven't missed a beat. In fact, I could argue that they're better.
Oh, no, I think that they are. I think Coach K, maybe the last 2 or 3 years was, on fumes, let's say.
Yeah.
And boy, he picked the right guy, or they picked the right guy.
Well, it was he was hand chosen by Coach K.
And so he did something. I mean, if that was his gift when he left the program, tip of the cap. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate that. That's a heck of a recommendation. No, I think that Duke's a great, well coached. I think that game. Going down the list, maybe one other game I could look at. It might have the same type of marquee matchup. I think it's a marquee matchup. I think everybody who's a college basketball fan of a certain age remembers St. John's being dominant, being in the Final Four when there was 3 teams from the Big East in there with great players. The city of New York, when Madison Square Garden is basically your home court. You got there. What a cool environment. What a cool deal that was in those years. So you kind of romanticize a little bit about St. John's coming back and being great again. And I think Pitino will do that. So great matchup. If you had asked me right now, I couldn't make a pick on this game. I think it's that close. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. Midwest region, biggest point spread of the weekend. Michigan, 10.5-point favorite over Alabama. Alabama's second leading scorer looks like he's done for the year. Some people thought that maybe he would be suspended for the first 2 games and then come back. But unfortunately, I think he might come back next year. They might give him another chance. I don't see this as much of the game. I would actually lay the 10.5, and I think that's sacrilegious in games of this magnitude to lay that many points. But I think Michigan's just that much better.
I watched a lot. I watched Alabama a few times. Athletic. They can do some things, but I don't know. They can't guard. They can't guard. Alabama's basketball program has felt like I need to take a shower after I talk about them because this is some weird. They got weird things going on. The coach is
starting with Nate Oates is a little bit of an odd duck.
He's got some. I think he's got the. It's not nothing sinister. He just. I think he's a dirty guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then you have trying to get the kid back in from the G League. Obviously was a big deal. Like, plays one game, then he's ineligible. I think a lot of these kids that come to Alabama are coming to play basketball at Alabama because their handlers are getting paid by somebody and they're getting paid by somebody. It doesn't really resonate with me like somehow, no, this is some sort of, some top level program in basketball. That's just everybody wants to run there too. I think it's a house of cards. It's a movie set. It's not reality. And I think that's about to happen. I think Michigan might punch him right in the mouth in the first half, and it could be a 30-point loss for Alabama.
All right, so you feel the same way I do. The other matchup in the East, the late game, 2 coaches who can coach and can pitch at refs. I mean, they both have a carte blanche on it. As a matter of fact, you go to Washington, D.C., John Shire's the 4th best coach, allegedly, of the 4. You got Pitino, you got, Tom Izzo, and you have Danny Hurley. That's pretty good foursome of coaches.
Really good. Again, marquee. That's the marquee games.
Absolutely. UConn 1.5 favorite, trying to get back to another Elite 8 against the Michigan State team, who I thought looked very workmanlike in their win. They kept, their opponent at an arm bar pretty much the entirety of the game. You never thought Michigan State was going to lose that game. UConn has been better than I expect. This is one hell of a matchup, but I'm never betting against Tom Izzo in March. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm not going to say much because I may have something to say about this game later.
Oh, okay. All right. So we'll just move to the final game on Friday night, and that's the Midwest region. Iowa State, the 2 seed, is a 4.5-point favorite against Tennessee, who's in their 4th straight Sweet 16. I guess I got to give Rick Barnes a little bit of a, hey, bud, I'm sorry I ripped you to shreds deal, because I didn't realize 4 straight Sweet 16s. That's actually a hell of an accomplishment when you think that St. John's hadn't been there since 99.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
27 years. So good on them. But I think, again, Iowa State, the second half, they destroyed Kentucky, and I think they're a wagon. They're a serious threat to win it all if they can get out of their region.
Tennessee has not really had they seem to be able to beat teams of their talent and below.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they've stepped up their talent level to meet what's going on. They're definitely a mid. I mean, Tennessee, Kentucky, they're sort of, to me, they're potato. They're kind of the same thing. I think, again, Rick Barnes is a very good coach. I didn't realize he was 71 years old. I mean, I thought,
me neither. Wow. Me neither.
So he's been coaching a long, long time, sure. And a bit of a carpetbagger. I wouldn't say I don't know. I mean, if you say to him what would be Rick Barnes's what would you put on what team was his best accomplishments? Texas. I really don't know. They've been sort of yeah. But even with that, I'm not quite sure if that's all the same. So we'll see.
All right. So you like Iowa State as well?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. So Final Four in the West, I think Arizona beats Purdue in the regional final, gets the Final Four. I think that I'm going to take Illinois.
Okay.
In the South.
Okay.
The winner of the Houston Illinois game wins the region. I don't think Nebraska can do. They can, but I think the Houston Illinois winner is the winner.
Right.
Again, I don't bet against Tom Izzo, so I'm going to say Michigan State out of the East, and I'm going to say I can't see. Do you have to get that?
No. That's just.
Sorry.
It's called the house phone. If anybody doesn't know what that is,
right?
And all I get is spam calls on it, but I have to keep it because my family still uses house phones.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Michigan to beat Iowa State. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it wouldn't surprise me at all if Iowa State goes, but I'm going to say Michigan. So Michigan and Arizona, the 2 ones I think get through. So that's how I see the Final Four. You want to throw?
Yeah, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to go real quick, and I'll show my hand on one thing though. So definitely Arizona. In that region, there's no doubt in my mind. You know what? I want to say I like Illinois too, as well as you. I don't want to sound like I'm copying, but I do think that if I'm not a fan of Houston's team. I think Illinois would be the team. So I'll go Illinois there as well.
Okay.
Michigan for sure.
Yeah.
And then I have.
And then the East with all the coaches.
Right.
You want to wait? You want to wait to do till later on to?
Yeah. All right. I'll wait.
You could say it.
So
you could say it then.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I know what you're one of the future segments. All right. So we've talked quite a bit of March Madness, almost an hour, and the 941's. Yeah, 941 Sports Zone presented by Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida. Give them a call, 941-251-4257. Hurricane season starts June 1st down there. So if you got still a little bit of damage from previous years, get that taken care of before hurricane season gets underway. They're up and down the Gulf Coast delivering exceptional roofing service. They're locally owned and they're nationally banked. That's Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida. And amongst all this, we got we got March Madness, we got the Masters coming up, we got all kinds of stuff going on. And Major League Baseball says, "Wait, we're over here. We're gonna start our season in March." By the way, and the weather up north is disgusting. I have rain snow mix as we record this on Monday afternoon. Just disgusting. So hopefully that gets out of the way before some of these teams in the Northeast have to play. Dodgers. Defending champs, 2-time defending champs, Are they 3-time defending champs, or you got somebody else you think might be able to knock them off their?
At this point, it's hard with Ohtani being on that team. It's hard to say that there's somebody that can knock them off right now. I mean, if you baseball is a long, drawn out season. A lot of things happen, injuries. You never know who's going to become a superstar overnight. You're never quite sure of that. There's always one team that rises from the ashes, some sort of situations. But no, I mean, I can't see that at this point where anybody is sort of going to be able to topple the Dodgers. If there is, it'll be another big market team, Yankees, something along those lines. I just don't know where that team is going to come from. The Dodgers, they even there are times that watching them over the last 2 years, and I don't watch a lot of baseball, full disclosure, but when you watch them, you like sort of follow it, and you're like, oh, they had a decent start. They kind of just work their way through the season. Next thing you know, they make a move in August, they make another move, and then next thing you know, boom, like they're shot out of a cannon, and it's like nobody can touch them. And so I think at this point, if that's really how it's going for them, and they've got a sort of a lock on the West in the National League, then I don't know how you can pick against them at this point.
I'm going to say I would love to see another 7-game series between them and Toronto. I really would, and I think Toronto is the best team in a stacked American League East. I still think they have the best pitching. Do they need to go out and get a better closer? Yes, and I think they will. I think if they're in the same position they were in last year, I think they might pull the trigger to get that guy late in the game. That's what they lacked last year.
Right.
And it was obvious in Game 7, to be brutally honest with you. As for the local team, the Rays, it's hard to see them finishing anywhere but in the cellar. That being said, I still think they can win 80 games. I just think the division is so loaded. Boston's better than they have been. They've got much better pitching, and if Roman Anthony's Rookie of the Year, like a lot of people think he's going to be, and he had an unbelievable World Baseball Classic, if he takes that into the regular season, then the Red Sox could be a serious threat. Yankees, you should have more Garrett Cole this year than they did, last year, which was absolutely none. I think they, the one thing I think the Yankees, which is very unusual, they stood pat in a lot of areas where I thought they would go out and try to improve.
I agree. I don't know if that was just by design or they just couldn't hit on some guys or whatever it may be. I agree that they didn't. That's why I say with the Dodgers, I would say like, what did the Yankees do? Well, they did nothing. If the Dodgers do nothing, it's like, okay, I get that. Why would they do anything? They're sort of loaded to the gills, right?
They have a $900 gazillion payroll.
Right. So that kind of thing. I will say this, going back to the Rays, Rich.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought about the Rays, coming in today, and I'm thinking, okay, what do I got to talk about with the Rays a little bit? So I don't know if it's much about the players and what on the field stuff. I'm interested in the new ownership.
Yes.
Okay. Because ownership has been so toxic over the last few years that, and by the way, so has St. Pete mayors and city council and whatever's going on. It's been a calamity of errors along the lines with people who are supposed to be setting the standard for what's supposed to be happening. Right. In this particular case, though, I feel as though your favorite restaurant down the street got sold to a new guy, and they say, "Don't worry about it. We got this. We're not doing a thing. It's gonna, we're gonna make it better," or whatever it may be. And you walk in the door, and the hamburger is not 8 ounces; it's 4 ounces. Or something along those lines. I don't know what we're gonna get with this crew. I don't know what their intentions are. Are they going to be so up to their eyeballs in building new stadiums and waiting for the governor to give them money, or whatever the case may be? Is the site going to be okayed? All the different things that are going to go into this. I'm very interested to see how that works out, and to see if they do something, which I don't think they have so far, at least from my opinion, do something to show that they're not going to run the team like it's a little league game that team
like
that
the previous ownership.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what. Are you going to step up there? Are you going to do some things? What is that? Are you going to sit there and say the same thing and say, well, we got to wait for revenue streams for this? You're now on TV with 11 other teams at MLB, so that TV contract situation has been rectified. Maybe not the best solution, but rectified nonetheless. I think that the fact that the baseball has been blacked out in a lot of places down here with the Rays, and depending on where you get to watch your TV, has affected their interest in a lot of it. More, I see more and talk more Lightning with Lightning fans than I do anything about baseball. And obviously the Buccaneers rule the day, but all that stuff, it's that the Rays is sort of like, if this ownership doesn't do much and they kind of become passive about things, I can see this Rays organization becoming what it was back in the day when it was the Devil Rays and it was, 60 wins. And we're gonna wait for the new stadium before we do any money. I want to see what they do. That's my question.
And the home opener is not until April 6th. They built in a pretty big road trip to start the year because of the possibility of them being behind. As it turns out, the stadium's ready to go. So they're just doing some fine tuning, which is great. The stadium being Tropicana Field. But by opening day, we're going to find out for sure if they're going to get shovels into the ground, and if this thing over in Hillsborough Community College area is going to be the real deal. Do I see the ownership kind of slow playing it, building into a crescendo when they open in 29? Yeah. I could definitely see that. They traded off a couple of pieces that I wasn't too excited about. Brandon Lau was a 30 home run guy. I know he was hurt a lot, but you could have penciled him in for 30 bombs. And now that's gone, and they replaced him with Gavin Lux, who, if he hits 10 homers, it's going to be a big year for him.
Right.
And they already had trouble getting the ball out of the ballpark. So, I'm going to be patient, but I'm also going to have one weary eye on things. So, I think they will kind of slow play things a little bit. I think they will, at times, it'll look like the last ownership group, but I think in the end, when we get to 2029, hopefully when we get there, because again, there's a strike/lockout looming next year.
Right. Right.
And that's the other thing, how does that get handled? How, your new owners, you just come in and all of a sudden the money is going to stop coming in. So, there's got to be a little bit of concern for that, because they basically have told everybody, all the owners have been socking away money for 4 or 5 years, knowing that this day was coming, and they haven't had 4 or 5 years to do that.
No. Well, I'll tell you this, what kind of worries me and why I even said I want to watch the ownership is because when they walked in the building, it was nothing about, at least my opinion, about the team.
Right.
It was about stadiums and this and this and this and this. So they didn't come in there and say, baseball is awesome. They said, we bought an asset. That's how I felt.
Okay.
This guy used this. He ran his team the way he wanted to, whatever he did. He had his formulas and all the analytics and whatever they did. And they had I would say, a pretty successful run for a while. Okay. Different here and there stuff. But my personal opinion is these guys didn't walk in sounding like baseball people. They came walking in sound like businessmen. And that's what worries me, that somehow they're going to say, we're good. And we're going to suck until we'll make it. 28, we'll start buying some players and getting all the excitement up so we can fill that stadium up. And then, man, let's see what happens from there. And that worries me, because if you come out and crap the bed, then you go right back to your rabbit hole, and you're like, I'm not coming out until somebody else figures this out. It's just, to me, I don't have a great feeling about it at this point. Hopefully I'm just being, a little over the top with this, but we'll see.
Listen, you're not alone. I have several friends who are not going to spend a penny until they get the commitment from ownership.
Why not?
They're going to add players and not subtract them like they did most of the winter. All right. Again, the 941 Sports Zone presented by Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida, locally owned, nationally backed. 941-251-4257. They work up and down the Gulf Coast. And again, hurricane season starts on June 1st. if you've been slow playing that, maybe just a little bit of damage, should get that taken care of before June 1st, because everything I'm hearing might be another active season down there, but
yeah,
they don't know. They don't know.
They don't know. They
So
want, and I think that
just be vigilant.
They have to be a bit of like Chicken Little. They have to be, because people will just dismiss it, and I get all that stuff. And look, there's a little bit of, I mean, between you and I mean, people down here were like, hey, we got through 2 Category 5 hurricanes, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so not that you're not scared, but I think some people are more like, well, I've been there, done that, you know, that kind of a thing. So you got to get people, the rest of the people, to be a little bit more alert for that kind of stuff.
No question. All right, I didn't put this in here, but NFL, there was some news on Monday. We have a new highest paid wide receiver in the game. His name is Jackson Smith-Njigba. He broke the bank. And here's the interesting thing about this. He got an extension, and it's shame on me for not, I was kind of busy this morning to see when the extension actually kicks in. I think it's next year, but I'm not 100% sure. But even if it were next year and it's a 4-year extension and he's getting 42 plus per with 120 guaranteed, say it kicks in next year, John, he's only 25. He's got another one of these contracts coming.
Yeah. You know, I get that the money is the money, and they raised the salary cap, everything like that. But man, to spend that much money on a receiver, to me, is a big risk. It's a giant risk. And you know, he's not the biggest guy in the world either. You know what I mean? So there's a, you know, and I will say this, just like running backs, there's an attrition rate, not age, not 25, but years in the league attrition rate to some of these guys. Mike Evans is an 11-year guy at the Bucs. I think it was 11 years.
Yes.
And big frame, fast, you know, kind of guy. Not a guy who, you know, gets busted up over the middle and can't make his way back to the sideline. He's a big guy. He can handle some of that punishment. I just worry about guys like him and Garrett Wilson. And a lot of those Ohio State guys who are not the most best. They're not the big guy. They got the kid coming out next year who's going to be a beast.
Yeah. Marvin Harrison Jr.
No.
Smith. No, I know who you're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, the wide receiver. Yes.
The guy from Miami, the kid from Miami.
Yeah.
He's that's the crown jewel of the Ohio State situation, you know, their receiver situation there. Anyway, my point is I'd be a little concerned about that money. Obviously, you know, there's always deals to be made if something went haywire, but good luck to him. He's done very well. A Super Bowl championship probably was the reason why that happened. But we'll see. We'll see how.
And they let other guys go. Kenneth Walker is now in Kansas City, and you know that's an interesting team the next couple of years.
Is Sam Darnold getting paid MVP money at this point?
No. He's getting paid Baker Mayfield money, basically.
Right. So that's what I thought. So I said, so now you got that to consider, and the defense has been really good. So there's going to be guys there. They're going to be looking for money. So again, a receiver, maybe you're doing it now because you're crystal balling it and saying that's going to be the norm in 3 years anyway. So let's just do it now. So who knows? Yeah.
And who knows what it could be, a small contract.
Sure.
The way things are going.
Could be a bargain. You never know. Like Mahomes' contract was a bargain now, right? So who knew?
And the other thing from the NFL, they have now made it official. The Seahawks will host the first game of the year, and it will be on Wednesday night, not Thursday night, before the start of the season, because the Australian game will be Thursday night our time.
Okay.
So Seattle will play on Wednesday. I'm okay with that. The one I'm not okay with, it appears now the NFL is going to have a Wednesday before Thanksgiving game.
Yeah, I saw that.
To me, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How exactly are you going to do that? Are you going to take, one of the teams that played on Thursday the week before? I mean,
you got to be coming off a
bye. 2 nights, or 2 teams coming off the bye. That's probably the most logical thing. But still, that's just really you gotta have it. They are monopolizing. they're upset that they can't have it. The reason there's a Wednesday game, by the way, John, is because of that rule, which states they can't have games on Friday night. And the way the calendar runs, they can't have a game on Friday night in Brazil like they did last year. So they're going Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Well, again, I think that the whole idea with the NFL, everything they do has nothing but money attached to it. Right?
Absolutely.
So that they've seen another opportunity. What is everybody watching on Thanksgiving night? The eve, I should say. Nothing.
Right.
Everybody's getting ready to eat and get the whole.
Well, I usually watch the finals of the Maui tournament basketball. Yeah, but it's so early in the year. It's
so I get it. They see a void and they fill it. So I mean, who's stopping them right now? I mean, it's going to be successful, I'm sure. People,
are you kidding me?
You and I are like, oh, too bad. And somebody going like, yes, can't get enough. That kind of a thing. So we'll see.
All right, golf. Matthew Fitzpatrick, nice recovery.
Very
the
nice.
Tournament the week before at the Players, and then this time he birdies 18 to win at Valspar up in Palm Harbor. At Innisbrook, he wins by 1 over David Lipsky, who was hanging around all weekend. What is going on with people dominating the first 3 rounds of the tournament and then just crapping the bed on Sunday? Case in point this week, Sungjae Im. He had the lead all the way through. He was heading into the final round. I think he had a 2-shot lead going into the final round. He shoots 74. I would say it's it's not a trend, except it's happening every week.
Golf being the mental game that it is, I think a lot of times guys come over with a lead and they're thinking to themselves, don't blow it. So what do? They go out and they par the first 6 holes and think, okay, because I can tell you this, Rich, again, my little experience that I have on the golf course, okay, me being me, I'll go out there and like, hey, let's say I start out and I'm 1 over after 5. Shouldn't do it. You say to yourself, man, I'm okay right now, and just don't want to make a mistake here or whatever. I'm doing all right. And next thing you know, you're to make the turn and you're like, now I'm 5 over. How'd that happen? Right.
Yeah.
Because just all of a sudden you start your mentality change. You're not chasing anybody. You're not trying to hit a great shot. You're just trying to keep it like, hey, you know what? I don't want to go for the green in 2 here for the par 5. I'd rather lay up and put a wedge in my hand. Next thing you know, hit that wedge over the back of the green and you got a tough chip, and next you bogey the par 5 that's drivable in 2. That's what happens with a lead sometimes. It really does. I had picked Xander Schauffele in my fantasy league, and he sort of just milled around at 2 under. And I'm like, all right, there'll be some points there for me. I'll get a little bit of juice off of him. Next thing you know, he shot a 65, right?
Yep.
He posted the number that everybody had to chase. And you're like, wow, okay, that's what happens. Because he has nothing to lose. He's like, I'm going to go out there and have some fun. He's loose. That's his 4th round around the course. He's great. He's thinking positively, and there it is. So that's, I would say the most of it is that. Plus, it's very hard to maintain a certain level of excellence, so to speak, for 4 rounds of golf. And Im was sort of in the lead for a good long while there, and just didn't have the juice at the end to keep up with what was posted up there with Fitzpatrick.
74 in the final round. He finished tied with Schauffele.
Yeah,
in 4th place. Now the tour heads to the, I guess it would be the Texas swing, if you will.
It is.
They're non-elevated events, but nonetheless, a lot of times you get a Masters player or 2 out of this if they win the tournament. They go into the Houston Open this week, and then the Valero Texas Open in San Antonio, the traditional tournament right before the Masters. If you get somebody who hasn't won yet who can win those, he can go and join Rory and the gang for the Masters dinner.
Absolutely.
Saw the menu, a little more traditional this year, not quite as Southern as it has been in years past with Rory. Or with Scotty Scheffler, but nonetheless, I thought it was an impressive menu. Where's my invite?
Yeah, no doubt. What and the thing is that was it figgy pudding for dessert? Yeah. So he went his way, which he should. I mean, he got to have a little of that Northern Ireland flavor to it all, which is good. So a great tradition, obviously. And I think it's cool that they get to have that meal with all the past champions like that.
Speaking of past champions, Bryson DeChambeau is coming into the Masters hot. Won his second straight tournament on a playoff, this one in South Africa. And this time he beats Jon Rahm, who's also playing well. I would love, I know you're not a live guy. I'm mad with it. But I would love to see these guys be there on top of the leaderboard. It just makes things better. Well, eventually both of them are going to be on the tour, be back on the PGA Tour. Bryson is playing about as good as you can under really wet conditions. And the other thing that might be a little bit of an advantage to them, although they do have to come from South Africa, they're going to take the next couple of weeks off, probably shoot some practice rounds over there, and let's see how that works out. But Bryson playing some good golf right now.
No, and they both overpower golf courses. That's sort of their thing. Jon Rahm, maybe a little bit more of that Spanish way of being very, very crafty around the greens. Bryson, a little stiff, but he's effective as well. Again, there's this idea that everybody has to accept live.
No.
Well, no, not. I'm just kind of that when Koepka said, "I had enough. Okay, I don't want to do it anymore. It's not for me." Whatever his reasoning was, whatever it was, and he was given a window. Okay, he was given that window. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that everybody should have jumped through it. Myself, okay. I don't think anybody. I think that if Koepka's the only one who wanted to come back and because whatever his reasons were, then great. But I don't like the fact that everybody says, well, see, Rahm and DeChambeau stayed because it's that good. No, they stayed for the money. Right. That's why they're under contract. You understand that they're under contract. They can't do anything. They really can't. DeChambeau supposedly spent all the money on some golf clinic or golf thing he put together. Who knows? And Rahm jumped a year afterwards, so he's still deep into his contract. They didn't leave because it's better. They left for the money. Let's just stop pretending that's a better place to be. It's not. They're wearing pants again. Four rounds. How is it better that you're going to play in South Africa and then in Australia and all? How is that better time? These guys like Phil Mickelson used to bitch. I need more money to do this, and I don't want to play all these tournaments all the time. And this, okay, great, but now you're playing more because it's better. You look. If you want to take the money, then great. Everybody, that's that. But just say it's the money. Don't say how great it is. I'm just tired of hearing that shit. It's like the same thing over and over again. And it makes Koepka's like, I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm good. I'm back. I'm happy again. Yep. And I wasn't always a Koepka fan, but more and more about the way he's handled his business and done some things, I'm becoming more of a fan of his as way he handles his business. Even though he went to live, I mean, he's come back and he's been contrite and he's been all about the game, and that's great to see. So it's good. But no, don't tell me it's better. It's money. Just tell me it's money, and I'll tip my cap to you and say congratulations. Then go have fun.
Okay. All right, a couple other things before we get to our final two segments that we do regularly. The Lightning back on track now. 3-0-1 road trip. I said this to a friend of mine. The Lightning, and this is throughout their history, for some reason, teams go out west and they struggle. The Lightning go out west and they get better. They do. They play very well out west. They were 3-0-1. They lost Sunday night 4-3 in overtime to Calgary. Backup goalie again. Back-to-back games. They're going to play Johansson. I mean, it's just fact of life. But they still get 7 out of a possible 8 points on the trip. But so did Buffalo. Same trip, and they went 3-0-1. They lost in overtime to Anaheim on Sunday night 6-5. So it's still a 4-point spread. Lightning still have 2 games in hand. Buffalo still has the tiebreaker with more regulation wins if they end up with the same amount of points. Oh, by the way, Nikita Kucherov, what a trip he had. He not only passed Nathan McKinnon and Connor McDavid, he went well clear of them. 119 points for Nikita Kucherov. He has just been 2 goals, 2 assists, a shorthanded goal that was a thing of beauty. What a pass. He is playing at an MVP level. The question is, will they finally give it to him?
Right. So I'll say that they should, but will they? I don't know. I was going to say this. It's time we recognize that John Cooper is a great coach, right? He's a fantastic coach. Vasi is an unbelievable goalie. But the Lightning go as Nikita Kucherov goes.
Amen.
Okay. He is the spark plug. So whenever if you said to me, hey, I know you've been in a cave for 4 or 5 days. Guess what? The Lightning went 4-0-1 on right now. And you said, can you guess why they're good? And I say, what? The Kucherov scored 10 goals and had 5 assists? I wouldn't say anything but that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now, playoff hockey, I'll give you this, that yes, he's still that plug boy, but that's when goaltending means a lot. And so I think that's good. So I don't mind the rest for him because I get that. I think that's good for him going forward into the playoffs. But either side of the coin on this, Kucherov is the reason why the Lightning are as good as they are. He is just that guy.
119 points. Think about that, John. 119 points in like 70 games. And I mean, and you think about that, and then you think about Wayne Gretzky's best year and in
200?
212 points. 212 points. Over 100 assists.
I would tell you this, that if you ever wanted to get a hockey guy, the guy who's not a hockey guy, to try to fall in love with hockey, say, we're just going to show you Edmonton Oiler highlights from the 80s to show you what hockey can be and what it is a little bit now. Mind you, it's especially in the regular season, but the skating and the passing and just everything else was just
skill level. Yes,
ridiculous.
Absolutely.
He made it look so easy. Oh my gosh. And he wasn't a big guy. Still isn't. He was just an unbelievable skilled human being.
Well, there's always one guy on the line that keeps everybody in line. Craig McTavish was his guy. Yeah. He was the big bruiser. Clark Gillies was on the line.
No helmet.
And Trot. Yeah, absolutely. No helmet. One of the last.
Yep.
Absolutely. So Lightning open homestand against Minnesota. That's one of their 2 games in hand. Buffalo does not play again until later in the week. So they take an extended break. So Tampa Bay with a chance to close that 4-point gap against a very good Wild team that handled them the last time they went out to Minnesota. So that's a little bit of payback. Quick note in the NBA, Kevin Durant scored 27 points and a 1-point win over the Heat on Saturday night. The Rockets are a top 3 team. I think they're either second or third in the West. They're definitely in the upper echelon.
I think they're second, Rich. I think they're second.
No, I think San Antonio's second. I think.
Oh, you're right. It is San Antonio.
Yeah, that's what made me stop. I'm like, the way San Antonio's playing right now.
Yeah, you're right.
OKC better be on their toes. But Kevin Durant, 27 points. Why is that significant? Well, he passed Michael Jeffrey Jordan for 5th on the all-time scoring list, which I didn't know he was even that close. Does it really matter though? I mean,
no, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's funny you say that because, if there's one sport I'm get off my lawn guy about is the NBA.
NBA, yeah.
Because it's baseball. Babe Ruth is still thought of as one of the best players, if not the best player of all time, right? The pitching, the hitting, you name it.
Yeah.
Just the name itself, it just says it's Babe Ruth, right?
Yeah.
Basketball has had their Babe Ruths, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Wilt Chamberlain is basketball's Babe Ruth, if you want to think about how it was. Physically dominating player, scoring points that were just ridiculous numbers, right? All that different stuff. Nowadays, the way basketball is played, and the way they do certain things, Kevin Durant can hop around from place to place to place to find what suits him, fits him just right. And that's why you don't know that he had that many points, because he's more known for being a hopscotcher and hooking up with the Warriors for 2 years and getting a couple championships.
Getting rings, right?
Than he is about being a dominant player. He is he is the George Gervin of our generation. Okay. Finger roll, right? But George Gervin was silky, whatever. He led the league in scoring every year, but he was never on the best team.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Nuggets.
He was, right.
And
well,
Spurs.
He was like Spurs. Right.
Spurs.
Right.
Yeah.
But you didn't have that, he wasn't doing certain things. And so is it noteworthy? Yes, it is. Is it tip of the cap? Yes, it is. Is he the top 10 player in the league ever? No. But he will be considered that because with the NBA and where things are, they're not. The NBA is not marketed to me or you. It's marketed to the 18-year-old who's got a FanDuel account who wants to bet that Kevin Durant's going to have 5 assists before the third quarter. It's also pointed to the guy who goes down to the courts and wants to go and can dribble through his legs and do all different stuff and miss layups because that's what they do now. You know what I'm saying? It's not pointed towards a demographic and or a fan base, if you want to call it that really enjoys the game. It's not about the game. It's about the individual. It's Kevin Durant, but it's hard to remember who's in second place in the West is. It's right. That kind of a thing. So to me, and understand this. This is why teams like the Nuggets and OKC are winning because they don't have Kevin Durant on their team. They have Jokic on their team. Okay, they have SGA. Okay, guys that are distributors who get their points when needed, who to get their whole team involved, and they're not passing the ball to the third guy who's the millionaire on the team. They're passing the ball to the guy who is a 14-10 guy. And it's so you go back to what I'm looking at. That's what basketball, and that's how you win for the most part. The Warriors were great for a number of years because they had Steph Curry, but Draymond Green and all those other guys, they just came in there and did what they needed to do. If that was to beat somebody up or set a pick or do whatever it took, they did it. Everybody nowadays looks back and they want another LeBron. What's his name? Chris, the center for them when they first got together in Miami.
Yeah, LeBron, Bosh. Wade, yeah, Bosh.
Right. Everybody thinks, we got to have 3 guys. It's got to be this, got to be that. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Oklahoma City proved that. They are deep,
absolutely.
Deep.
Denver did too. I thought Denver did as well. So I think that's even Milwaukee when in the one year that they won. Okay, they had a superstar, but yet he wasn't surrounded by unbelievable talent. But anyway, that's the point. And nowadays, the marketing is not there for that. The marketing is about individuality. The marketing is marketed towards people who don't even know about basketball. They know how to bet, and that's sort of unfortunate.
It is. Magic and Heat were both on hot streaks. Then they played each other, and since then, neither one has won, which is kind of odd. They both lost 4 in a row. They both had, I think, 7-game winning streaks when they played each other. So. They went and Magic got all the way up to 5th in the conference. Now they're back in the play-in, as are the Heat. So it's going to be an interesting last 10 games or so. You don't want to be in that 7, 8, 9, 10. You don't want to be in that play-in tournament. You want to be in the body of the playoffs. And, at one point the Magic were looking right at the Cavs as possibly passing them. And now, they're trying to get out of the play-in series. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the NBA season goes. All right, time for our locks of the week. And I can't remember. I was trying to go back and do some research. I know we both lost in a week at some point, but we had both been doing extremely well.
Right.
Like I said, the Gators let you down for the second straight week. You had them to win the SEC tournament.
I can't do it again.
And then you said all 4 1 seeds are going to advance, and the Gators said no, not really. So, and I had USF, and I said they'd win outright against Louisville, even though I did play the game plus 4.5.
Right there, they know.
Love the half point, but nonetheless, that my official pick was USF to win the game. They did not. So we both take it on the chin. You're now 17-9 on your locks, while I'm 16-10, and I assume we're going to go the same place, and that's in the Sweet 16 for our lock. Are we not?
Yes, and I'll go ahead and go first.
Right.
Basically, I'll keep it as simple as possible. I got Michigan State over UConn.
Oh.
I got Michigan State in the Final Four, but my pick will be about Michigan State over UConn. Look, I watched a little bit of UConn the other day, and I wasn't impressed. I thought they were sort of like they looked like a one-man show offensively, and I didn't quite see it. And to me, it almost looks like Danny Hurley is like just about done. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't seem like the guy who won 2 championships.
Not having as much fun. How about that?
No, he's not. And I think that permeates to the team. Coach is great, coach is this, but he's not like angry or he's not like frustrated with. He just looks like he just looks bitter right now. I don't know what it is. Look, it's very hard to repeat. And if we look back and you can see it. He's got to get. I think he's not living in reality in some ways. The expectation you should want to win every year. That's no doubt about it. Maybe the fact that Gino Auriemma is on campus with him and he's got 14, whatever the hell many amount of championships he's got. He's got the number 1 team in the country again this year. He's about to repeat possibly. Maybe that burns his ass. I don't know what it is, but he's got to figure it out. I think that Michigan State, I think Izzo is probably getting close to the end for him as well at this point. This might be a chance to get him back to the Final Four. And I think he will. I think his style will affect UConn more than vice versa. So I'll take.
Well, it's interesting because I look at Michigan State as very similar to St. John, and for that reason, St. John's beat UConn 2 out of 3 in the game. In the game they lost, they couldn't throw the ball in the ocean, standing in the water. Okay,
Pitino beat Hurley twice, beat the shit out of him, right? I can see Izzo doing the same thing with the same type of players and the same kind of mentality. That's exactly where I was headed. So you're right there. So give me Michigan State over UConn.
And I'm going to take the other game that's the short spread. We're taking the 2 games that are supposed to be the closest with the shortest spreads, and both of us are taking that game. I mentioned it earlier. I love Nebraska against Iowa. I really do. I think
I think you're right.
I think the Cornhuskers have turned the corner. They could exhale after the Tennessee game. It's a conference foe. I think they take care of Iowa, who I thought played about as good as you can in beating Florida. Putting 2 games in a row like that together, very difficult to ask. So I will take Nebraska as my lock of the week. All right, final segment. What's bugging me? And I think you've been chomping at the bit since we turned the mics on. So I'll let you go.
I mean, I guess it doesn't. Maybe it's one of those things where, it's how it shouldn't really bother you, but it does bother me at this point. I have a problem with the excessive amount of time and the excessive amount of things that are going on with the basketball, where they're going to the review on these plays. Okay, that are fouls or not fouls or whatever it may be.
Common fouls or flagrants, right?
Right, and I don't like it. I thought it was well said by one of the analysts. He's like, you know what? These referees are being graded so that they can move on into the Sweet 16 and then the Elite 8 and everything else. So everything is black and white. It's the letter of the law. Where in basketball it's not. It's gray. And he said, and I said, that's right. You're seeing situations where they're calling flagrant fouls because a guy is swinging his elbow and a guy moves into him. He's not attacking him. Well, that's a flagrant one, or it's this, or it's that, or it's a dead ball technical because we missed the call, but we can go back and get it and say, well, he pushed him and he did this because he's trying to get a hold of the game or whatever the case may be. I just don't like the excessiveness of it and how it's like it's constant. And it's amazing to me. Like each coach has one challenge. It's like they look like the guy.
You just stole my thunder. You just stole my thunder.
So that
was what's bugging me. So I was going to kind of play off that. I was going to play off that. How do you play a 40-minute game with one challenge? And when do you know? I mean, I love the NBA system. You get 2 challenges, and if you win them both, guess what? You get a third. And in my opinion, as long as you keep winning, now in the NBA, you can only get 3. as long as you keep winning, I think you should get another challenge because you know what? You're not, you know, you're not getting on the refs. You're not nitpicking. You're picking out the plays and they're turning out to be correct. And I think as long as you're correct, you should continue to go. And somebody in one of the second round games used their challenge in the first half. And then it came to a point with about 4 minutes to go. There was a play to challenge. They didn't have a challenge left. That's garbage. That is ridiculous.
100%.
1.5. All right. You want to be real chintzy about it? 1.5. How about 1.5?
Right. 1.5.
But I think as far again, I'm very, and listen, I don't like the replay. I don't like them checking everything. I'm like you. It slows down the pace of the game. It can mess up the flow. But you know what? If you keep catching the refs being wrong, you should get another challenge. I firmly believe that. And watching this, and I've watched some NBA this year. So like when I'm watching this, I'm like, man, that stinks that you have to literally wait till like a minute and a half to go in the game. And you may never get a chance to challenge. And that play you didn't challenge in the first half might be the difference in the game.
Right. Yeah. Cost of the game. I also didn't like the fact that it was pointed out what game it was, where the team late in the game, the team had no timeouts left.
Right. But so they have no challenges. Yeah.
But the other team challenged, right? So you have no timeouts left. Other team challenges, and the challenge is taking so long, they let the players go over to the coach, and they got a timeout out of it.
Yeah.
So it's like because you're taking so long, and then somebody said no, they should have the two referees. And making sure that the coaches can't bring them over there, but they're not going to do it. So it's flawed in a numerous amount of ways. And yes, let's get the call right. Let's get it right. But man, some of the stuff is just stupid. It's just, and it takes so long to do. And how about this? Something happens, and 5 possessions later, you can go back and challenge it, and they can call it foul on somebody from previous. How does that work?
Right.
Sometimes you have to move on. Okay. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that's what happens. You can't. Hey, I want to challenge that play from before, but you said it was this and he hit his elbow. It didn't. Whatever. Come on, really? That's what's going to happen. And look, the idea that you've got to go to, let's say a guy is bleeding. One of the kids got hit in the nose the other day, and he's bleeding. That they had to go back to the replay to make sure he got hit in the nose. Well, where did he get hit? And then now it was this, and it drew blood, and it do this. He drew blood. Just if somebody drew blood and you missed it, somebody hit him in the nose.
Yeah,
Let's just figure it the hell out. It's not. Why are we going to go through all the logistics of it all? Forget it. It's simple. I was like, come on, this is dumb. It was dumb. So I don't get it.
We both have problems with the college replay system. That's what's bugging us. Exactly. And that'll do it for this edition of the
Brilliant Minds Think Alike. Let's just say
they
that.
Do.
Right?
Yes, they do.
So that's what it is. And we're watching the games. We know with them, like, this is pissing me off right now.
There's proof, by the way, that we don't talk before the show because
we don't.
If we would have, I might have changed mine or something. But
it's funny you say that. I listened to a national show that talked about people say it's scripted. Like they say people think we scripted. We don't script anything. Well, we definitely don't script anything.
Exactly. We had such busy lives that we barely get here on time to do the pod.
Yeah,
how's it going? All right, ready?
Here we go. Scrubbing a pool 20 minutes before I got here. But you know what? I think it's better because I don't think it's much about it. I think it's more reactionary. So I think I think I like the format that way. I agree. One of my other streaming partners, we don't do much talking about the content either until it goes on, and it seems to work well for us there too.
There you go. You want to plug that?
Soon to be coming, the John Peacock Show.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Mr. Moneyline himself. All right.
Moneyline Peacock and I talk about the food before we don't talk about anything else. But we're both at the game, so it's good. And sometimes we're like, I don't know, why'd you say that for? So it's kind of fun with that stuff. So, but I mean, I think it's good. I think it gives it sort of a little bit of surprise to the festivities.
It does. All right, so that is this 31st edition of the 941 Sports Zone. We'll come up back next week. We'll know who the final four are. And I think we'll also know the NIT final games.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everything all culminates. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another what's bugging me. I've got to write that down because, listen, only 4 double-digit seeds got to round 2 in this year's tournament, and for the first time in forever, 13, 14, 15, or 16 didn't win. So, a lot of people are talking about that. So that's another
that's
story
probably
for another time.
And I heard the same thing. And there's definitely some things that are about it. You were to worry about for sure.
Right. All right. For John Bittersweet 16 Missoni. Sorry about your Gators, bud.
All right, I'll live.
Yep. And
I won a natty last year. I can't complain too much.
There you go. All right. At least you know about it. A lot of kids on campus are like, well, we did what?
Ooh.
What sport?
I mean, those tall guys that were in my classroom? Yeah. Those.
All right. I'm Spitz. We're getting the heck out of here. Don't forget to like it on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, I should say, like Facebook, X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, Instagram. We're all over the place. Watch it. Tell your friends about it. Tell us about it. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. Please tell us what you don't like. So we'll try to stop doing that. Okay. All right. We're out of here. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.